Okay, so this is the era, it seems, of the mask. You know, I mean, back in the days of kings and queens and courts, one of the things that was popular was to have masked balls where people would come and they would disguise themselves and whatnot, and some of them were apparently, I mean, from what I've read of the history of these kind of things, sometimes you really didn't know who everybody was, and other times it was just a little bit of anonymity. Sometimes it was so that they could have wild Caligula, weird kinds of sex parties or whatever, and other times it was just, hey, it's the fashionable thing. But, living behind a mask, being somebody you're not, or only presenting one part of yourself to the world is certainly part of, for example, our political culture. David Brooks had who I usually reading his stuff makes me crazy, but he had an interesting piece in the New York Times yesterday suggesting that one of the reasons perhaps that Hillary Clinton has high unfavorables is because nobody knows what she does with her spare time. In other words, we don't know her as a human being. We know that Obama likes to play basketball and play golf. We know what Donald Trump likes to do. We may not like it in his spare time. We may not like it, but it humanizes him. And his suggestion to her was that she should humanize herself, but with more of that. The flip side of that, though, is, and so in politics, and Donald Trump, I mean, now he's being attacked for using, his aliases to present himself to the world, but he's mostly using social media. And in social media, about, I don't know, three months ago or so, I brought this up on this program, that there's actually this measurable effect of spending a lot of time on social media, and it's worse for teenagers than anybody else, of people actually getting depressed. The more time they spend on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, whatever it may be, the more depressed they become. And, the question was, why? Why? Well, I think there's two pieces to it. One part that I want to get into in a whole lot more detail next week, actually. There's a new book out about it, in fact, is that we're wired to be tribal. We're wired to be community. We're wired to be social animals. But, millions of years of evolution have caused us to, at a deep neurological level, to think that socialness is to actually be in the company of other people, to be in their presence. And then we got one step away from that with, writing letters to people and calling people. And then we got another step away from that of listening to people on the radio. And then we got another step away from that of watching people on television. And now, and all of that, and as at each step, it becomes a little more staged, right? You're talking to somebody on the phone, you can't tell what they're wearing, you can't see the expression on their face, but it's interactive at least, and you can hear the tone of their voice. You watch somebody on radio or TV, they have, they or the TV network or whatever has a lot more control over exactly how it looks, and they can decide what they're going to say and things like that. But then now we come to social media, and the reason why people are getting depressed about social media is because most people on social media, when they're portraying their lives, are portraying just the very best of their lives, right? Here's me and my friend. Here's me, just started a new relationship. I just bought a car. Etc. And those of us who are over 21, shall we say. In fact, actually, I would just say, the people who have entered the adult world get it, that there's a certain faux-ness to all this. There's a certain phoniness to it. And that, it's people presenting putting their best face forward. But for teenagers, I mean, it's really easy to think, oh, I'm the only person who doesn't have the perfect life. Because people are putting up, I mean, if they're going to take a picture of their house, it's going to be the best part of their house. If they're going to take a picture of their pet, it's going to be when he's smiling, not when he's peeing on the carpet. If they're going to take a picture of their significant other, it's going to be, eating pizza and drinking wine, not having a fight. It's like the realities of life are not reflected on social media. Which I think is one of the reasons why Donald Trump has so successfully used Twitter to get where he is. And we're only now just beginning to realize that he's more than just his crazy Twitter feed. But it raises this question: what do people on Facebook do, and not just Facebook, I mean Twitter and whatnot, that drives you crazy? And, you know, we asked this question on our Facebook page this morning, put it up about an hour ago, and already there's, you know, some 20, 30 comments. Eric says social media is young. So much of the behavior is just provocative, reactionary. This is, you know, what makes you crazy? What do you not like? Like the escalating volume and activity in an unattended schoolroom. What makes me crazy is a relatively low number so far of people and companies making an effort to sophisticate the intellectual experience of social media. I'm guessing there are corners of social media that are very sophisticated, very intellectual, but it's certainly not the norm, I could tell you. Kim says it has to be the reactionary nature of social media. She doesn't like that. Martha says, you know, a lot bigger things in social media make me crazy, but I really don't like to see anyone saying nasty things about anyone. And this is one of the things, particularly, it's not so much with Facebook, because Facebook pretty much requires you to say, this is who I actually am. But with Twitter, you can be really anonymous, and or at least largely anonymous, and that can really bring out the worst in people. What makes me crazy, personally, is when people take things that I say out of context, or things that other people say out of context, for that matter, manufacture this huge hysteria or outrage around it, and then try to pump it for all it's worth. And it's not, you know, it doesn't make me sad or hurt or angry. It just makes me shake my head and go, oh, my God, you know, really? So people constantly reposting without checking. This is what Connie says, without checking to see if what they just read even has a faint resemblance to the truth. I've been guilty of this. I did it, you know, one time that I got busted on, and I haven't done it since, and I got busted. It was a good thing. I read, there was an article that somebody was retweeting, and I opened it and read the headline in the first paragraph, and I thought, that looks pretty good. And so I simply retweeted the thing and moved on. And it turns out that after the first 4 or 5 paragraphs, this turns into this very bizarre article. And somebody replied to me going, did you really mean to retweet that? And then I went back and read it and thought, oh, geez. But I've learned from painful experience not to delete tweets. So I replied saying, yeah, I should have read it more carefully. Sorry. So, you know, what makes you crazy on social media? We're going to talk about that. I want to talk about Elizabeth Warren. I want to talk about Bernie Trump.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
I want to talk about Hillary Clinton. There's possible debate coming up. I mean, there's a lot on the table. I wanted to start with that, though. We'll get to all these things as we continue through the program. Stick around.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.